Good golly, Miss Molly.
Come see.
There's a whole lot of shaking going on,
Yeah, true.
you might have said. And I suspect Dad would have approved of us starting there. Because if there's music, there may be dancing. And if there was dancing, there was usually Dad.
Yes.
Boys are boys. We'll come back to that. Welcome, and thank you for being here today. To Mum, he was Tom! To us, he was Dad. To you, he was Grandpa. To others, Uncle Tom. And to lots of you, just Tom. Whoever he was to you, we're grateful you've joined us. Thank you. In a little while, we'll raise a glass to him. Not yet. We will make him wait. Which he would not have appreciated. He hated having to wait to take his drink. But it was invariably followed by, nectar from the gods. I can only describe my reflections of Dad, and some of them may resonate with you, but Jenna didn't get
That's another reason.
Every one of us will have different memories, different stories, and different things that make you think of them. And I sincerely hope that those make you smile. But here's mine. Family, his reason. This year would have marked 65 years of marriage to Mum. That's a long time in anybody's book. And like most marriages, if we're going to be honest, not every day was plain sailing. But that never eroded the importance to Dad, the critical importance of having Mum alongside him. And as things became more challenging in later years, we all knew they were never going to have it any other way. Pride in the achievements of the people around him, especially family, was a huge source of joy to Dad. It was never really about him, it was about Mum, her career, her strength. It was about us, our careers and our families, and especially his grandchildren, because they were all going to be world beaters in his eyes. He took a huge interest in every one of us, and he somehow managed to store every detail away. The conversation starter that we all dreaded was, "Did you not once say to me?" And what followed was usually a perfectly recalled detail from years ago that we'd completely forgotten. And we'd look at each other and go, "Did I?" But he was always right. He'd always remembered it perfectly. And it's only with hindsight that I kind of fully appreciate the commitment that sat behind that, the encouragement, the support, the interest. And I recognise what it meant to be one of the few parents standing in the touchline at every school rugby match, watching a supremely untalented 12-year-old bravely take the field. I was a very late developer, with a physique more appropriate to table tennis. But that's not what he saw, and he turned up every time. Community was another part of Dad's life, huge part. Village life suited Dad perfectly. Getting involved, turning up to support and enrich that community. He made things happen. The drama club at Lauriston, he helped establish the Scouts at Bonchester. He established and was running the Cubs in Strayton, where he was a Akela, the pack leader, and that's what I remember him as, Akela, from the Jungle Book. Or later in Ashkirk, litter picking the verges, contributing his famous word of the week to the pub, and helping energise the village hall keep fit classes. Keen at Laldy. I suppose he believed that communities work best when you give something back. And in all those communities there was the church. He served as an elder, he was on the church session. He delivered sermons. He was the loudest singer. He was always the loudest singer. But I don't think I ever heard him once talk about religion in itself, because it wasn't a performative thing, it was just, I think he believed that was how you should live your life. And I respect that massively. So it's no small measure of the man that he donated his body to the medical school. And I don't think that was because he was interested in the legacy. It's because he thought somebody else might learn and benefit from it. Talking of learning things, Dad loved words. He was kind of self-appointed guardian of neglected and underused vocabulary. Words the rest of us had considered safely retired. They would suddenly reappear and be used repeatedly. And many people left discussions with Dad both impressed and bewildered. Bin men, plumbers, doctors, barristers, neighbours, all capable people, all leaving with a new word of the week, which became a regular feature in the Smiddy Bar in Ashkirk. His grammatical accuracy was important to him, so it was always using me when we were under pressure. And a somewhat avant-garde approach to pronunciation. It was never Donald J, it was always Donald Jai. And he'd probably have the measure of that man before any of the rest of us caught up with him. So, music, one of the great pleasures in his life. It became increasingly important to Dad in his later years. It wasn't a passive background thing. For him, it was the experience, the history, the performer, the stories, the analysis, the discussion. And as the world around him became harder to access and more confusing, music remained something he could fully engage with, something that connected him, and it made him feel relevant and present. But as I said, where there's music, there's dancing. Holy God. With complete confidence and absolute enthusiasm, he combined moves from several different decades and mashed them up into something quite unique. And as his immediate family, we would occasionally find this a bit challenging to watch. But most of the rest of you loved it, because it was just joy. And one of my most enduring memories of Dad would be watching him and Rue dancing at Matt's wedding. The floor cleared, everyone watched, and everybody smiled and everybody laughed and everybody cheered. And even when they eventually had to bring a chair onto the dance floor for him to sit on, he just carried on dancing from the chair. Because when he danced, stopping was never part of his plan. It meant part of